Good morning, friends, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Stony Brook, located on the ancestral lands of the Settlecott peoples. My name is June Cerveny, and I am happy to be co-leading the service this morning with my fellow worship leader, Alyse Parise. This morning, we have been forced to slow down and take a little extra time for rest, and we will think a little bit about the tension that exists between the resistance work that we are called to and the rest that we need to sustain us in that work. We welcome you wherever you may be this morning. We are one congregation. A special welcome to those of you who are here for the first time. We are so glad that you are with us, and we look forward to getting to know you. If you sign off after this service and return to our website, you will find the link for joining our virtual coffee hour for small group chat. And there you will find some friendly folks who can answer any questions you may have. Let us enter now into the sacred space of worship with the sounding of the morning bell. Bring your hearts and your mind and your body here.
There is no freedom, the wise man said. Let justice roll down, when the poor cry out for shelter and bread. Let justice roll down like a mighty stream. Oh, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, believe in a dream. When the way gets rough, we will make a new way. Let justice roll down like a mighty stream.
Hatred will never drive out hate.
Let love roll down, roll down.
Remember, our hearts can make us great.
Let love roll down like a mighty stream. Oh, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, believe in a dream. When the way gets rough, we will make a new way. Let love roll down like a mighty stream.
When brutality threatens our daughters and sons,
Let peace roll down, roll down.
may our voices ring out above the guns.
Let peace roll down like a mighty stream. Oh, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, believe in a dream. When the way gets rough, we will make a new way. Let peace roll down like a mighty stream.
When fists rise up to strike a blow,
Let songs roll down, roll down.
may the poets remind us of what we know.
Let songs roll down like a mighty stream. Oh, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, believe in the dream. When the way gets rough, we will make a new way. Let songs roll down like a mighty stream. Step by step and one by one, let justice roll down, roll down. They can kill the prophet, but the dream is on. Let justice roll down like a mighty stream. Oh, children, don't you get weary. Walk together, believe in the dream. When the way gets rough, we will make a new way. roll down. Justice roll down. Let justice roll down. Like a mighty stream.
Our chalice is the symbol of Unitarian Universalism. For those at home, which is probably most of you, I invite you to light a chalice or a candle as we kindle our flame here in the sanctuary. This morning, June's going to light the chalice as I read the words by Reverend Anna Tulu. The chalice is the vessel, capable of holding all that we put into it, capable of holding all that we are and everything we bring with us into this space, this community. The flame is that which arises within and is called from as a result of gathering in this community. It is the manifestation of our Unitarian Universalist values in the world, a living theology of love as expressed through justice, equity, generosity, pluralism, interdependence, and transformation. Let's all rise in body or spirit wherever you are and join in singing our first hymn, Love Will Guide Us.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way. On the road from greed to giving, love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us. Peace has tried us. Hope inside us will lead the way. On the road from greed to giving, love will guide us through the hard night. Love will guide us through the hard night.
Our Time for All Ages story this morning is called Sometimes People March, and it's by Tessa Allen. Sometimes ants march over your picnic. Sometimes bands march in parades. And sometimes people march. Marching is something people do together when they want to resist injustice and when they notice the need for a change. People march for many reasons. They march for things that they care about, and they march for people that they love. People march for the health of their bodies and their communities, and the whole world. People march for the freedom to love, to live, and to learn. Sometimes people carry signs to share their stories of resistance. People resist in many ways. Sometimes they resist with their voices, they resist with their words, with their songs, and with art. People resist with meetings. They resist by standing up and by sitting down and by taking a knee. And it isn't always easy. Feet get tired, arms get tired, hearts and hopes, they get tired too. And sometimes problems seem too big or too complex. But we do not march alone, because ants are stronger together, bands are louder together, people are more powerful together. And sometimes, from feelings of fear or anger or injustice, there comes hope for change. Sometimes that change will start small with a brave question. Maybe it's your question, a question that calls people together. And together, they find the strength to march.
Let us enter into a time of meditation. Then our spoken words will give way to silence. And then we'll sing our hymn, which many of you know, hymn 123, The Spirit of Life.
This is a prayer for communities practicing many forms of resistance. It's by the Reverend Michelle Collins. Spirit of connections and love, bless the many ways we resist. Those who march and organize, those who cook, donate, and write, those who tend to the weary, who pray or hold vigil, those who say, rest now, I'll take this shift. Let this wide circle honor every offering, visible or unseen. May we release the myths that define resistance in certain ways, and remember instead the truth of shared power. May this be our prayer, to sustain one another's courage until faith and public fire become one movement of love.
Stir King, set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
It's our spiritual practice to share our offering plate with an organization working for social justice in the world. We try to focus on local organizations, hoping to make a difference here on Long Island and our home. And also hoping that our support will strengthen and encourage these smaller organizations, which often are masters at making a little go a very long way. During the offertory music, you can use the link in the chat to make a donation, or you can grab your old-fashioned checkbook and write a check with social justice 50/50 in the memo line and mail it to our UUFSB office, or you can drop it off in person. We may be waylaid by the weather this morning, but our generosity does not have to be. We can make the choice to give generously for a better world.
I see somebody marching, marching down in the street. I see somebody marching, yeah, marching down the street. It's time we stop and pray to have a better day. I see somebody marching, marching, marching down the street. I hear somebody crying. Oh, yes, they are. They're crying down in the street. I hear somebody crying down in the street. Ask yourself, why? Oh, why do they make that moan and cry? Oh, go to your window and look down. Yes, take a look down and listen and look all around. I hear somebody crying, crying in the street. I hear somebody praying. marching down the street, marching in the street.
Our reading this morning is from the book See No Stranger by Valerie Kerr. Love is a form of sweet labor, fierce, bloody, imperfect, and life-giving, a choice we make over and over again. Love can be taught, modeled, and practiced. It engages all of our emotions. Joy is the gift of love, and grief is the price of love. Anger protects that which is loved. And when we think we have reached our limit, wonder is the act that returns us to love. Revolutionary love is the choice to labor for others, for our opponents, and for ourselves, in order to transform the world that is around us. It begins with wonder. You are a part of me that I do not yet know. It is not a formal code or a prescription, but an orientation to life that is personal and political and sustained by joy. Loving only ourselves is escapism. Loving only our opponents is self-loathing. Loving only others is ineffective. All three practices together make love revolutionary, and revolutionary love can only be practiced here in community.
This morning, I'm sharing the thoughts from Reverend Emily Boges from Soul Matters, and it's entitled, Rest is Resistance. Can I get an amen? So every time you hear I, it's not me speaking. These are the words of Reverend Emily Boges. Every day after school, the son of a well-known rabbi would enter his house, place his backpack on the dining room table, leave the house through the back door, and head into the woods behind the house. At first, the rabbi gave little thought to his son's ritual, until it continued for days and then for weeks. Every day, out into the woods for almost a half hour, the rabbi grew concerned. "My son," he asked one day, "I notice that every day you leave your home, or our home, to spend time in the woods. Are you okay?" "Oh, Papa," the son replied, "there is no need to worry. I go into the woods to pray. It is in the woods that I can talk to God." "Oh," the rabbi said, clearly relieved, "but you should know that God is the same everywhere." "Yes, Papa," said the boy. "I know that God is the same everywhere, but I am not." Can I get an amen?
Amen.
Do you know what amen means? The word itself has been traced back to an ancient Egyptian word, ament, and translates to ground of being. When we respond with an amen to something we've heard, it expresses that what we heard is connected to a truth or an experience we've known, like the earth supporting us. You always have a choice to say amen or not. Throughout this service this morning, I'll ask you today, can I get an amen? If what I've said resonates, if it connects with you, by all means, say amen. If not, that's okay too. It would be a very boring world if we all agreed with everything one another said. Returning to our story of the rabbi and his son, the son teaches his father a lesson. God may be the same everywhere, but we are not. There is such a thing as sacred space and sacred time. When we enter, it opens us to the divinity within and the divinity without. It helps us find our center. And it may be available to us in all spaces and in all times, but some spaces sometimes don't work for us because we're not the same everywhere. I wonder, how many of us live our days like the boy, entering our homes, putting our work down, and going to our sacred spaces? How many of us, after a long day, release our burdens and make the time to find our center, our sense of what is holy? Not too many hands, I would imagine. We enter our homes and there's a never-ending amount of work to do. Someone recently shared with me, almost in a whisper, I miss the slowness of time in that first year of the pandemic. Is that wrong? It feels like we're back to breakneck speed. I've said it once, and I'll say it again in the wisdom from Peter Drucker, the famous management consultant. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. Even with the best intentions to live a slower pace of life, America's dominant culture takes pride in its fast-paced urgency. That culture ate our intention for breakfast. My grandmother has a frame cross-stitch on her wall that reads, "To rest is to rust." To rest is to rust. We can sleep when we're dead. Welcome to grind culture, says Tricia Hersey, a performance artist and activist, a theologian and a daydreamer. She calls herself the Nap Bishop, and her ministry, you guessed it, is called Nap Ministry. Now let me warn you, it's not just about naps. It's not about self-care. Podcaster Glennon Doyle's Riley commented that calling Tricia Hersey's ministry a nap ministry is a little like calling Jesus's work a walking ministry. When people enter Tricia's nap retreats, they're often surprised. They think they've come to nap so that they can return to grind culture well rested. What people aren't expecting, Tricia says, is that she is calling you to resist grind culture. Full stop. She not only hands you a blanket, she also hands you a metaphorical flamethrower so that you can burn the culture of grind to the ground. Rest is, in fact, resistance. And she's calling on all of us to join together and resist. The times are urgent, says Bayo Akomalafe. Let us slow down. Imagine a world where naps are essential to human flourishing. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
The Nap Bishop says, rest is a form of resistance because it disrupts and pushes back against capitalism and white supremacy. Both of these toxic systems refuse to see the inherent divinity of human beings, not to mention the planet, and have used human bodies, especially black and brown bodies, as a tool for production, evil and violence for centuries. Grind culture has made us, all of us, human machines, willing and ready to donate our lives to a capitalist system that thrives by placing profit over people and profit over the planet. Have any of you heard the news about cargo ships steaming right through whale habitats and feeding grounds and major pathways? Whales like the endangered blue whales living off the southern tip of Sri Lanka. They strike and kill the whales repeatedly. An organization called Whale Safe has been asking large cargo ships to slow down to 10 knots when traveling through whale territory since 2014. Whale Safe uses buoys that listen for and identifies the songs of blue whales, fin whales, and humpbacks, which alert shipping vessels who are near the whales, urging them to slow down and reroute. In 2019, before the system's launch in Santa Barbara, approximately 46% of vessels slowed down in voluntary speed reduction zones. With the new system in place, the percentage had risen to 60% in 2022. Another organization called Protecting Blue Whales and Blue Skies actually pays shipping companies to slow down for whales. The times are urgent. Let us slow down. Imagine a world where we are paid to slow down. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
The rest is resistance, or the rest is resistance movement, says the Nat Bishop. It's a connection and a path back to our true nature. We are stripped down to who we really were before the terrorism of capitalism and white supremacy. That's when we learn that we are enough. That's when we claim our divinity. God might be everywhere, but it's nearly impossible to find our center in grind culture. The rabbi's son goes to the woods to find his center because the dominant culture stops him from experiencing divinity everywhere. Yes, his trip to the woods is an act of centering. It is also one of resistance, says Tricia Hersey. On Sunday, our junior high class school gathered to watch a Twilight Zone episode. Some of you might remember that, by the way. You may be surprised that 12 and 13-year-olds will actually watch black and white television. They will. I think it's mostly due to our amazing snacks. The Twilight Zone episode is called The Obsolete Man. It's set in the future, not the one that will be, but one that could be, as the host Rod Serling tells us. We enter a scene where a man is put on trial for being obsolete, no longer productive and no longer worthy. You see, in the future, the state has banned books, and the man is a librarian. Therefore, the man is now obsolete. If found guilty of being obsolete, the librarian will be put to death because he now has no value. In his youth, he'd been a carpenter. Producing furniture is valuable for the state. If he'd remained a carpenter, he would not be obsolete. But the librarian chooses to resist. His method of resistance? Reading. At the end of the show, the host, Rod Serling, does something unexpected. He reappears on the show to give the moral, saying, any state, any entity, any ideology which fails to recognize the worth, the dignity, the rights of man, that state is obsolete. You might recognize those words, as they are in our first principle. We Unitarian Universalists affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of each human being. Rod Serling was a member of the Santa Monica congregation, and he wrote that episode in 1961, the same year that Unitarian Universalists voted to create and live by our principles. Tricia Hershey calls us to view grind culture through a similar lens. This dominant culture, grounded in capitalism and white supremacy, does not recognize the worth and dignity of neither human beings nor our planet. Any state, any corporation, any religion, any entity, warns Rob Serling, that fails to recognize the worth and dignity of life is heading towards a future which it is obsolete. The times are urgent. Let us slow down. Imagine a world in which you are worthy just for being alive. You are valued. Can I get an amen?
Amen.
How many of us are exhausted? How many of us are facing an even more exhausting week? How many, or how ironic, that we lived with a deadly virus for 3 years that attempted to teach us to take our exhaustion seriously. We didn't listen because culture eats strategy for breakfast. In the last 2 weeks, both of my teenagers have had a virus. Just had a common winter virus. As my eldest got ready for school, she shared with me her symptoms. You'd know them: sore throats, aches, fatigue, no fever. We tested her for COVID, negative. I said, I think you should stay home. Her response, I can't. I've got too much work to do. I counted. If you had COVID, you would be home for 5 days, period. Let me ask you, if you didn't have a lot of work to do, would you stay home? Her body deflated as she confessed, yes, gladly, I feel awful. She ended up staying home and slept for 6 hours straight. I texted her from work, I guess it's good that you didn't go to school. She replied, yeah, tell that to my math homework. We aren't allowed to be sick because the work never stops. The pace is unrelenting. If we don't do the work, we can't catch up. It requires someone else, our co-workers, our partners, to add more work to our workloads that are unsustainable. Grind culture says the nap vicious keeps us exhausted, and we're addicted to it. If I told all of you that your practice for the week is to get 8 hours minimum of sleep per night, as I've done with folks, you wouldn't believe the resistance I hear. I just couldn't, they cry. I couldn't get it all done. That's the whole point. Keeping us exhausted is intentional, because if we're exhausted, we won't have the ability to dream of new possibilities for ourselves and for our planet. It keeps us in a state of disrepair, or despair as well. One of the tenets of Hershey's nap ministry is that naps are portals to our imagination. The seeds of our future exist in our imagination. When we nap, we are connected to our dream space. Grind culture steals from us that space of dreams and imagination and futures. Just remember, oppression was imagined. Liberation can be imagined too. It will require us to take back our imaginations. It will require us to slow down. It will require us to rest. Let's begin right now. Sit in your chair with your back upright and feel your feet firmly planted on the ground. Or recline in a chair, or if you're in a bed or on a couch or in a hammock. That's okay. Scan your body and recognize any tension. Breathe deep. Imagine a world without limits. Imagine a world without oppression. Imagine a world of liberation. Imagine a world where whales swim free without risk of harm. Inhale deeply from your own belly and hold it for 4 seconds. And exhale slowly. Open your eyes. And you can repeat this several times a day. Lady Nancy Ambrose was the grandmother of the prophetic mystic Howard Thurman. She was born a slave. As a little girl, the white preacher would come to the plantation and offer a service to her community. He was allowed to do this. Years later, she told her grandson about a moment that changed her life forever. The preacher looked her and her community in the eyes and said, "If you remember one thing and one thing only, I want you to remember this. You are not slaves. You are children of God." For the rest of her life, Lady Nancy Ambrose held this truth inside of her. It was her center. No one could ever take that away from her. Her grandson, he went on to meet Mahatma Gandhi, the guru of nonviolent resistance. Gandhi taught Thurman to resist small acts of evil. Don't begin with the big evil in the world. Start small. Resist small acts of evil and work your way up to the bigger ones. Howard Thurman returned home to the United States, and his small act of resistance was to teach folks, especially Americans with their backs against the wall, the marginalized, people of color, the poor, to teach folks how to establish a sense of inherent worth and live from a place of dignity. Thurman was following in the footsteps of his grandmother. If the dignity of a person can be restored, if a person can claim their worth, he said, it stabilizes the ego, it increases self-esteem, and it gives one the courage to question oppression. How did he teach folks to do this? He taught them how to sit in silence, not unlike a nap. It seems like such a small act, and it is. But the writer, Maggie Smith, reminds us to remember geologic time, how the slightest shifts, imperceptible daily, carve canyons and make mountains. We have to trust that those small acts of resistance are making progress even if we can't yet see it. The times are urgent. Let us slow down. Imagine living from your center every day. Imagine claiming your worth every day. Imagine your dignity restored. Can I get an amen? Amen. Because if we can do that, no one can take that from us. Rest is resistance, beloved. I've decided to follow in my grandmother's footsteps. I'm learning how to cross-stitch. It's a gift for my future grandchildren. One day I will frame it and give it to them. It will say, "To rest is to resist." Amen. This is the ground of our being. Our closing hymn is hymn number 1017, Building a New Way.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling strong.
This morning I offer you, by way of benediction, these good words by Tandy Rogers. May your resistance be grounded in love. May you know when to rest and when to rise. May you remember that pushing back against harm is also a way of making space for beauty.
Paul and Silas bound in jail, had no money for to go their men. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. Paul and Silas began to shout, jail door opened and they walked out. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on, hold on. Well, the only thing that we did wrong was stay in the wilderness much too long. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. The only thing that we did right was the day we started to fight. Keep your eyes